Good morning, YouTube land. How you doing out there? Well, we're going to do a project today, and I've started it already off camera. And we've got a day that's going to be into the 40s, and we do have some sunshine. We got to take advantage of the weather the way it is. And I want to show you what I have done so far and what I'm planning on doing. Are you ready? Do you have your coffee in hand so you can come out here and watch me work? Okay, let's go. Alright, yesterday I framed in this and put this window in. I got these windows at Lowe's for $38 a piece. They're cheapies. And they're made to slide this way. You can't turn them around and make them go the other way because they'll slam down on you and they don't stay up. So they're not exactly the best windows, but they're good enough for this purpose. So I framed it all in here. And I framed this one in. Today I'm going to make the other frame for this side. I picked up some 1/4 inch, good on one side, plywood. Of course, I think it's only 3 ply, but unless I went to marine grade plywood, I had them cut it down to 31 1/4 because we don't want the plywood to come all the way down to the sill. We wanted it to be about 1 1.25 to 1.5 inches away from the sill, so it doesn't wick up moisture when the sill gets water on it. This is going to be painted, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any paint on it today or not. All depends on the weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unload this afterwards, after I make the frame, and I'm going to mark out, I'm going to put the plywood up there, I'm going to mark out for the windows, and Tommy will be out here videotaping. Everything's a mud hole today, so you can't win. You track up the house, it makes a horrible mess and everything, as you can see. It's a mud hole wherever I'm working. Now the sawdust is from yesterday, from making the framework. It was a little colder yesterday than it is today. I'll show you the windows I got. Okay, they're called Product Source. No, they're not a brand name window. They're only $38 each at Lowe's. Now, I was going to have a window made at Home Depot, but that would have been about $70 a piece. And I could get any size I want, but it would be $70 a piece. I figured I'd go with these. I would never use these in a house, but for the porch, it's perfect. Now, I've never put windows in before. It's got this groove here, almost 1 inch. You cut the opening out, and this is your mounting flange here, which is understandable. So you got this thing sticking way out 1 inch. So I take it that this is probably for insulation, if you were putting this in a house, or a trim. In my case, I'd be putting 3/4 inch, probably by, in other words, a 1x3 trim all the way around, because it's got this here. I didn't expect this when I opened it up. I thought it was just going to have this, and it was going to be flat like this here, out here. Well, anyways, we can deal with that. I wasn't going to put trim on it, but we have to do that. Down here, I got my 2x3s already cut out. I made this up. The opening is 23 3/4. And this is already measured, so what I do is when I make out my frame here, out of these 2x3s, all I got to do is lay this stick down and put my mark on it, and that's where the cutout's going to be, and make sure it's square. Now the first thing I'm going to do now is to go over to the other side, and I'm going to lay down my measurements because I want the windows to be spaced properly from the end posts. And we'll continue on this video when Tommy comes out, and after he has his breakfast, and he's going to do some taping. Okay, folks. Now, because it's a mud hole, I put some boards here so I can at least stand here without sliding all over. Now, because the post on that porch out front is not uniformly spaced, only because the shutters were in the way and I couldn't make the porch longer without covering up the shutters. I'll show you out here. Okay, from here to here, the spacing is a little further out. I think it's 44 inches from inside dimension here. From here to here, it's 34 inches. And the reason is, if you come over here and look, I had to put this post here because I didn't want to cover up the shutter for cosmetic reasons. Otherwise, I could have put the post out here and it would have made the deck uniform over here. Now here's what I did. This is my window measuring stick for the window opening, so I don't have to keep measuring. Now we need a distance of 9.5 inches from the inside of this post over to here. Okay? That's what we have over here. 9.5 inches from the inside of this post to here. Okay? Now, because these are not, this isn't out far enough, this is where we end up over here. So we have a piece that's literally nailed on the side of this and going up. So cosmetically, if you're looking on the outside, the windows are going to be out of balance, but they're not. They're going to be, if you look on the outside after I get the plywood on, it's going to be a total of 13 inches from here to the inside opening of the window. And so when the plywood goes on, the plywood's going to go here to here, and you're not going to see this post anymore. You will see it on the inside, but you will not see it on the outside, and it'll look good. So what we're going to do is commence to make this frame up now. And what we got to do is duplicate this for the top. So we put the 2x where the X's are, we put the 2x3 rather, here down. So let's come out to the back and let's get to work. How do you like my Rube Goldberg work area? Not like a lot of you guys got nice shops and nice garages and stuff to do things. I got to do things outside. Now we're trying to make this framework here for the windows. This is bouncing like a rubber ball here. I got these planks down here. Let's see, yeah, gotta go. Okay, that's smooth there. I always pre-drill, of course. I always done that. Otherwise, the nails will bend over 9 out of 10 times. Okay, now, what we've got here, this is the piece that goes against the center post that I showed you. And the window frame will come out to here. So we only had to move this over about 1/4 of an inch. So you're not going to notice a 1/4 inch difference when one of the window's a 1/4 inch over here versus the other window. You know, you're not going to notice that. If I didn't tell you, you'd never know it. Okay, so now what we got to do here is this is the left side. Now I say left side as I'm looking at it from inside the porch. It's for my own reference only, not for anyone else's. Now, what we're going to do is what we are going to do is get this lined up. Find a damn nail hole here. Alright. What a rickety way to work, I'll tell you. Now, before I put the second nail in, let me just see if we're still proper here. Well, it's a little snug. Now let me just take a measurement and see. That's 23.5. This stick here is just a hair longer than 23.5. Purposely done that to allow for slight errors, which I'm great at doing. Okay, now we get the second nail in, and we're lined up on that line, we're lined up on that line, and we'll hammer this in, and then we'll put the top piece in. Okay, now we're ready for the top. We got the frame made. As you can see, this is going to go against the center post, as I showed you before. This is going to be the header for the window. So-called header, I guess you can call it. Let me get this stuff out of here. This is my window measuring stick. So, now this has got to be trimmed out to here longer. I just got to cut it a blade width, so it fits in there. That's how I do my cutting. I just shave and shave until it fits. Because if I try to measure exact, they always come out short. You can always cut off more, but you cannot add. So what we're going to do here, first of all, before we even do that, is we're going to measure. We've got to measure here. This is our window measuring stick, as I showed you, which is 23 3/4 inches. We put the X here so we know that the center of the 2x3 goes here on this side of the line. We flip her over, and make sure we're doing it right here. This is the bottom, this is the top. I don't always depend on a ruler 100%. Sometimes just using a stick that's already pre-measured is the best way. Now, what we're going to do is draw the line, double check, perfect. Put the X's out here so we know where to drill and mount it. Okay. So we're going to trim it off, and we'll put this piece in. We'll come back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. How's that? Okay. All right. Get it on the line. Okay, now this is how she be. As you're looking at it in the inside of the porch, looking out, the center rail, the center 4x4 of the original porch would be here, and this is going to be nailed to it. This will get nailed in here, and the window, not nailed yet of course, just fit in tight. The window opening. And before we mount this in, well, actually we're going to mount it in. We got about a leeway of 1/4 inch on all sides, and we're square. Well, we will check it again, and then we're going to take one of the windows and stick them in each of the openings, and if that works where we want it to be, we take and put the plywood up, temporarily nail it, mark out, cut it, and we're good to go.